What is going on? Welcome back. Third and 20 podcast, episode 45. My name is Frank Entwistle. We got the main man himself, Mr. Steed. Steed, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. It's been a great week, can't lie, and ready to get on today's show.
All right, well, let's get right into it. Offensive line, we have, for a large part of this draft process, neglected the big hogs. And this is honestly, I'm a big offensive line guy. I've probably mentioned it on the podcast sometime before. If I was a rebuilding team, the first thing that I would do is draft a bunch of offensive and defensive linemen. I firmly believe that the big boys are what wins football games. The skill players are just how you win it flashy. So with that being said, we're going to do kind of like a back and forth rankings almost for the offensive linemen. Steed will pick one. I'll pick one. Steed, you can go first. Who is your top ranked offensive lineman in this draft class?
I think I'm gonna have to stick with Sewell. I know Rashawn Slater's getting a lot of buzz lately, and maybe even Darrisaw, to be honest. But I still like what I see out of Sewell. He's just, for how big he is, he's very athletic, very powerful. It seems like he's able to get downfield really quick. He's really smooth and quick in space. So, to be still think he's the number one O-line, so I'm just going to take him number one.
All right. In these rankings, I personally am going to be taking a little bit of positional, neediness into this. So, generally speaking, someone that I think can play left tackle really well, I will have graded over someone that can play just guard or center really well.
Yeah, same.
And I think that's how it is in the NFL. But you're right, Penei Sewell, I think when you watch him, the first thing that jumps off, the dude just moves insanely well. He's almost like, he's not like a running back, but he's more like a running back than all the other big guys. He's just able to move in space really well. He's fast, he's powerful, he's like the whole package. My number two guy, once again, taking some of this positional value into it, is Christian Darrisaw. Mm-hmm. If I were a team that needed a tackle, a left tackle, and chips are on the table, I'm taking him 10th overall, let's say. Maybe I'm the Cowboys, and I just want to take the best tackle. I understand Rashawn Slater's got some really good tape, but all things considered, I think Christian Darrisaw is the safer pick at tackle. If I needed a guy that can play inside, I think I would go Slater. Just because I think, you look at Slater, he's just not big. He's like 305 pounds. He's only like 6'2 or 6'3. His arms are really short. I'm pretty sure he's in the bottom 5 percentile of NFL tackles of his wingspan. So you're kind of just asking a smaller dude. He's athletic to play tackle. I think Christian Darrisaw is more of that natural tackle. He's bigger. His pass sets are really good. You can make an argument that Darrisaw might be the best pass blocker of all these tackle prospects. So I think that in the process of mock drafts, he's kind of been the de facto number 3 guy. To me, if I was looking for a left tackle, best offensive lineman, Darrisaw would be number 2.
Okay, yeah, I love Darrisaw. I do like him more than Slater. I'm pretty sure I had Slater going before him in my mock draft, but I think I had Darrisaw right there at 3, and I do think he's like the second best tackle in this class. And now third, just going off that need for left tackle, because it's hard to pass up Slater here and put him at 3 because I obviously think he's a great talent, but I've just fallen in love with Sam Cosmi out of Texas.
Ooh.
I here at 3. I know it's crazy, but I had him going 21 to the Colts, I believe it was. But I just, you look at Sam Cosmi, you see he's 6'6", 315. This offseason I was reading on, he added on great weight, he was in great shape, and that projects very well for me. His games this year for Texas, blocking for Sam Elgler, he blocked extremely well for him. And took some looks at his pro day. Take what you will at a pro day, but I didn't see any faults come out of his pro day. Now he is on the bubble of being probably around a late late first, maybe early second, but I wouldn't be surprised if he falls somewhere in the teens too, just because I think he has a high ceiling. But I do like Sam Cosmi a lot, and I'm also just going to take the need for a left tackle here.
No, I like Cosmi. I didn't think you were going to be as high on Cosmi. One thing, Cosmi, he's a younger player. I think he was a true junior, so he's just younger than a lot of these other tackle prospects. I think he's like, he's just like an all-around. There's really not a ton of boxes that Cosmi doesn't check for you if you're looking for a true tackle. So, no, I agree with you. I think that Cosmi is a guy that right now he's being mocked in that late first, early second range, but like you said, I think in the teens, if there's a team that says, hey, I want a true tackle, well, you can make the argument as a scout, well, I'd rather have Cosmi over Elijah Vera-Tucker and over Slater if I'm looking for someone just to play tackle. Now, since you didn't take Slater, I'm going to be taking Slater here. One of the reasons why, and I think this is almost a pro and a con at the same time, it depends on what you're looking for, is that Slater can play all of the offensive line positions for the most part. I can put him at guard, and then if I really need to, I can put him at tackle. Now, I say it's a pro and a con because if you're a team that's specifically looking for a tackle, you're like, dude, I have guards, I have centers, I want a guy just to play tackle, well then, I almost, like what you said, I might rather look at Cosmi or Darrisaw, whereas say the Eagles, right, where they're a team that they have tackles, they have guards, a lot of these guys have just been inconsistent, maybe they would want someone that can play and be more versatile, play a couple of different positions up front. Well, then all of a sudden, they might value Slater a whole lot more because of that versatility. So I'm going to go with Slater at 4. The dude is an insane athlete for someone his size, right? You can say maybe he's like a better athlete than Penei Sewell. I don't think he is, just because Penei Sewell's bigger and he's a little bit more powerful. I think that's where Penei Sewell has the edge. But in terms of movement, Rashawn Slater is as good as any prospect in this draft as a guy who can move. And I think that is one of the reasons that and his size is why you would want to put him at guard. Is just, get him pulling, get him out in space. It's just he is such a good pass blocker. He almost is really that tweener. I'll take him at 4. I think personally I would put him at guard, but I do still think he can play tackle. I would really be a little bit uncomfortable if I wanted him starting as my left tackle as a rookie. That's the only thing for me because of his size.
Yeah, I agree. If I was in a spot to just grab Rashawn Slater and he could instantly play guard, I would love that. I would. It's not that I would worry about him playing tackle, but I don't know if his size, compared to some of these other guys, I would feel much safer starting them at a tackle spot day one. It's so not Rashawn Slater, but if I was able to start Slater day one in a guard situation and maybe move him to the outside when he progresses, that could be something. But I still love Rashawn Slater a lot.
No, yeah, I also think the other thing too is that it almost depends on your scheme and how you're going to use the tackles, right? Because if you look at a team like the Cardinals where you have your tackles moving a lot more, down blocking, getting towards the edge a lot more, then I think you have much more of an excuse of saying, okay, well, we don't need him to be just this, your classic blindside blocker because we're moving him around a lot. But, we're kind of coming at it from the perspective of, okay, this is your classic kind of West Coast offense. There's timing, a lot of timing with the routes, and if your left tackle can't hold up for the timing of these routes, well then your quarterback does not know when that rusher's coming. He's going to get nailed, and that is just kind of a concern where you have Slater. Not like I don't want to say he's a bad player. I think the way that I'm putting it is, you're almost not maximizing his skill set as a prospect by using him in that more traditional tackle role. And I would love to see him as a guard, as a fan of Slater, just because, dude, this guy could be an all-pro level guard day one. Whereas tackle, he might have a lot of work to do. I don't really know, though, because we don't get to work these guys out or anything. We're just kind of going off what we saw on tape. He did really well against Chase Young. That's almost like his his pristine tape there. But I don't know. I still think that for me he's at. I think for me he's at 3.
Yeah, I like that. And so I get a pick here at 5. I'm going to take your guy out of Oklahoma State, Tevin Jenkins, but also a guy
Okay.
What?
I was really scared you were going to take, when you said your guy, I thought you were going to take the guy that I was going to pick next, and I was going to be very salty.
Okay, no. Well, I'm going to take Tevin Jenkins here. He's been getting it seems like the past couple weeks, really, he's just been kind of climbing up on the boards, too, and probably inking himself into a first-round kind of talk. But, I mean, what you see out of Tevin Jenkins, you get experience from day one. He's been playing at Oklahoma State since, beginning of his career, I'm pretty sure. Like, at least he was starting when he was a sophomore. And you look at the success that Chuba Hubbard had at his whole time in Oklahoma State. I think it really falls on the success of this guy, too, what he was able to do. So I think day one he could be a steady contributor to a team. Again, another huge guy. I like.
Dude,
what
you talk about power.
Yeah, he can really mow down anybody in the line, and kind of like where he can get in front of the tackles and just block anyone downfield is really crazy to watch. He's got decent speed too, so.
Yeah, if you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, we put out a little compilation of Tevin Jenkins, and Tevin Jenkins, his highlight clips are as good as any offensive lineman in this class. Mm-hmm. The dude, there is a clip against Texas where I think it might be Osai. I should have checked before the pod, but he's the right tackle on Oklahoma State, right? The edge rusher that's rushing him kind of like puts his hands up and slightly jumps because the quarterback pump fakes. He takes that edge rusher, throws him into the defensive tackle, and pancakes both of them. Like, that's the kind of stuff that at his height you see on Tevin Jenkins' tape. It is just like, what the hell? This guy is a beast. I think with Tevin Jenkins, though, there are a lot of like minor technical issues and stuff that needs to be worked out. If I were a team, I would like to take Tevin Jenkins as your power right tackle. Mm-hmm. Let's say I think that the Jets might be a good team for him because they're a team. They have that left tackle, that big ass left tackle. Let's get a nice run blocking, another big ass physical right tackle, so that our tackles are just these big mean dudes. That when that defense goes to line up, you see these two giant tackles that are mauling people. Like, dude, if I'm a Jets fan, that's kind of what I want. So, yeah, I agree with you. Tevin Jenkins, I think he's kind of cemented himself as that late first, early second round kind of tackle. I do think that kind of like what we have, there are a lot of other offensive linemen that are just a little bit more refined and a little more polished you'd rather have over him. But especially if you're one of those teams that believes in development, this is like the guy. You can't teach this kind of power he's got.
Yeah.
So my guy that I was really... you want to say anything else?
I have a feeling I know who you're going here.
Who am I going?
I think you're going to go Alex Leatherwood.
No, I'm not. I'm actually going to go
really?
with Alex Leatherwood's teammate. Dude, because I honestly kind of forgot about this guy.
Okay. I know. Brown?
Landon Dickerson.
Yeah, Landon Dickerson. Okay.
Landon Dickerson, the Alabama center. I am telling you, he's not flashy, right? He's not going to have the flash of some of these other tackles where he's pancaking guys left and right. But my God, you talk about one of the most consistent centers, one of the most consistent offensive linemen I have seen on tape. This guy is a beast. I am firmly now in the camp. I want the Steelers at 24 to select Landon Dickerson. I am really scared, though, that he is not going to be last till 24 in the draft. It really does depend because he has that ACL injury, right? So, like, at first he was kind of bumped down because of that injury. But, like, you look at ACL surgeries recently and the development that has been made in professional sports around it. If I'm a team, I'm not really scared because he's just too good. He's too consistent. I'm going to release a little highlight clip of Landon Dickerson on the social media, so if you're interested, follow us. But this dude, I'm telling you, Steed, he is probably being the most underrated offensive lineman in the draft right now. Of all the interior players, you have Rashawn Slater, who may even be a tackle, Elijah Vera
Yeah.
Tucker, who may even be a tackle, and then Landon Dickerson. These three guys are in a class of their own as possible interior players. Landon Dickerson being the only true interior guy. If your team needs a center, I'm looking at the Packers, I'm looking at the Steelers, the Jets, all these teams. I think Landon Dickerson should not fall outside of the first round. I think right now I would have him as my number 4 or number 3 offensive line prospect. That's how consistent he is, and that's what makes players really good, is consistency.
I mean, I like that pick a lot. It seems like he's just kind of like a stud. Is like you said, I mean, he's a straight up interior line, and I think a lot of people are going to be trying to get more of these outside of guys. And like you said with Vera Tucker, because that's my next pick, he's another one of those versatile kind of guys that, you know, he played guard in 2019, and then when Austin Jackson got drafted last year, he moved out to tackle. And, you know, it's kind of hard really to see. I mean, he played well in the limited games he played over there because the Pac-12 only played like 4 or 5 games this season due to COVID. But, you know, what I like out of Vera Tucker, I think his pass pro is a lot more not set in stone, but a lot more complete than his run protection because, you know, when you watch him go up against a lot of these pass rushers in the Pac-12, he's able to really just he's quick. He shows good agility with them. He's a good athlete as well, and he's just able to move the speed rushers with ease. So if I'm a team, I think I would not trust Vera. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I think I would more likely start him at guard because, you know, I don't know, he hasn't played tackle much, but I mean, he was very solid in the guard spot he was in 2019. And I mean, I think at the beginning of this, Vera Tucker was probably like my 2 or 3rd on my list. Now I think I have him more in the back of the field in my top 10, somewhere around like that 6 or 7 range. But, you know, I still think he's a very good player, and he can compete. But I do like him more in the guard situation right now than I do a tackle.
All right, so we're on the 8th pick now. See, this is where I think there is a little bit of a drop-off, but see, I'm torn between 2 guys. I'm torn between Walker Little and Alex Leatherwood. I think I'm going to go for Walker Little just because I think Walker Little is a tackle that has an absolute ass ton of upside. The problem is that he has not played in a long time.
Yeah, he hasn't played in 2 years.
So it's a very risky pick. If I was an NFL team, unless I really fell in love with him at pro days and talking to the kid, because he does have very good tape. It's just tough to take him, especially with how strong this tackle class is. You almost feel like it's a little bit safer to pick some of these other prospects that you could argue are just as good. Maybe they have some more minor flaws, but once you get to this point in the rankings, like, it is hard to put Walker Little below anyone else here just because of how good his tape was when he first came in. You know, he just hasn't played, so it's tough to really project. Because we've seen that time and time again. A guy, he has a good freshman or sophomore season, and then all of a sudden, one season of tape drives him from a potential first-round pick way down the board. So that risk does have to be associated with it. But I think here at the 8th spot, I'm going to go with Walker Little just because of what we saw. Risky pick. Where do you think he goes in the NFL draft? Does he have a chance to sneak into the first round, or is that just like a little bit too crazy?
I don't think it's crazy at all to think about because, I mean, 2 years ago, this guy was getting projected as a first-round pick, and the only thing that I think that's really hurt Walker Little is that he hasn't been on the field in 2 years. 2019 because of injuries, and last year I'm pretty sure he opted out because of COVID. Yeah. So, if he was already being projected first-round pick back then, you know, he's got first-round traits. He still does. I mean, he's only been able to work out and hopefully get better at this point. And we're talking about, I mean, I'm pretty sure he might be the biggest one out of this class in terms of size, you know. But I do think he's a great athlete on that. do I think it's a risky pick? Yeah, but I could see a team just say in the first round being like, "Hey, man, we like this guy. We know it's risky, but if it pays off, like we get an absolute
Exactly.
stud."
The upside is so big because if this guy played for the past, there might be a chance that he's a top 10 sort of pick.
Yeah.
So now you might be able to land him in the early second, late first. You don't really find that value all the time, right? See, it's funny because everyone is talking, at least way before, about how the COVID year screws everything up. Well, this guy quite possibly could be the most screwed player by COVID. Yeah. Because, I mean, you're talking, yeah, it's only like 20 picks that we're talking about, going from like pick 9 or 10 to pick 30. But think about how the money difference that is for him.
He's so much
like,
money.
The pick value difference, right? Like, it's kind of crazy where he could go in a draft, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes really early or mid-second. There's really no telling, because it only takes one team to really believe in him for him to go really high in this draft.
I think teams are going to fall in love with him, and seeing how he works out, and get him in the room and ask him about his previous injury, and and not playing in the last couple years. But, you just look at him and you look at his previous tape. There's nothing to hate on him. I think a team will love him, and I would not be shocked if you see in the back, like 20 on in that back half of that first round, if he goes. I definitely think he's easily going to be a day 2 guy in my mind if he doesn't go in the first round.
So? See, I think there's a decent first round shot because I think there's a legitimate.
No, I see the first round. I'm just saying if he doesn't go first round, he's
what about this, right? Tevin Jenkins versus Walker Little. Like, I think that if you're a team looking for a tackle, especially a left tackle, that is a huge debate between scouts there, and I could easily see them going Walker Little just for the upside.
Yeah, they could. It's just they have two different sides. Tevin Jenkins has played a whole lot. He has a whole lot of experience. Walker Little hasn't. Walker.
Yeah, they're so opposite, right? Like,
yeah, they're just complete opposite of each other. I mean, dude, because I like Walker Little because I would take the chance on him. It's just if one of these teams will, and based off recent drafts, I think a team would. Like we do all these mocks, and teams don't always get. We don't always get the mocks right, and teams just take players based on what they think. And I think Walker Little fits into that little category. It's like if I'm like the Bears or the Colts, they are sitting. I'm just like, hey, Walker Little has a huge upside. We need to replace a guy. Here we go. Just let's ride with him.
All right, what's your pick? Last pick here. Pick 9.
Oh, well, then I'm going to go with Alex Leatherwood.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm going to take him. I feel like Alex Leatherwood, with the NFL draft mock community, it's like a love or a hate kind of thing with him. Because I've seen some Alex Leatherwood shame on him, saying that he's not really stable in the run game, but I think he had a really good 2020, and so did that whole Alabama team as probably one of the better teams of all time, or at least in the past few years. But, I mean, Leatherwood, what I've seen, he has good feet, he's a great athlete, excellent size, he has good length, he can cover up the speed rushers, I think he's good in pass pro. I see it like Alex Leatherwood also kind of fall in that mix, where I wouldn't be surprised if he goes somewhere in the teens, but I wouldn't be surprised also if he falls back into the second round.
Yeah, I think he's kind of like a firm second round guy. The only reason is that, you do see a lot more inconsistency from him on tape than you do the other prospects. The thing is, though, is that I just really feel like you're getting a guy that it seems like to me, people think Alex Leatherwood is a finished product, and I think that couldn't be farther from the truth. I think that Alex Leatherwood has a ton he can still develop, and for his value, that's why I really like Alex Leatherwood. Obviously, if he goes in the teens, then I'm not sure that's a great pick compared to some of the other guys. I still like Alex Leatherwood a lot. He played really well at the Senior Bowl. It's just the tools that Alex Leatherwood has, to me, are tools that you really can't teach a ton of tackles. You just need to hone it in. You just need to get that consistency because, yes, he was on that Alabama, that really good offensive line, but there were plenty of reps where he looked like the top pick and plenty of reps where it's like, well, how the hell is this guy starting? So I think that consistency for me is the big thing with Leatherwood. That's why I think he's going to be a day 2 guy. But I don't think he should be on the board very long in day 2. And he's right up there with a lot of these other tackle prospects. So my last guy here. Oh, man, I am bad. There are so many guys that I could pick here. Who do I go here? I'm going to go for a little bit of a shocker. This is just a guy that I've really fallen in love with. That's Trey Smith out of Tennessee, the guard. I know we've talked about him a little bit on the pod because he was a big mock draft, mock off-season pick for us.
Yeah, we got him a bunch.
And I think two mock off-season we picked him, mainly because we could pick him up in the 3rd round. This is a guy that is going to fall because of medical concerns. He had blood clots in like his heart or something. I'm not a doctor, so do not quote me on that. You can look it up, though. So he fell. He was initially a tackle, a 5-star recruit, went to Tennessee, had to sit out a season because of that medical issue, and then came back, moved to guard, and just played phenomenally. He is a big-ass dude. He is a people mover, and I think he's relatively decent in space. This is a guy that's going to go day 2 probably. I think there's like a 99% chance he goes day 2, unless the medical team for these teams are saying, hey, no go, do not touch. But I think the team that does decide to take the risk on him is getting a guy that you look at his overall profile. This is a dude that without that medical concern would be a 1st-round pick in my opinion. So just because of that, I really love him. 10th, like, we're talking the 10th ranked offensive lineman. I don't think he's going to go 10th. I think this is, like, for me, in this little ranking, he's a bit of a reach. But in terms of talent, I think he's just as good as realistically any one of these guys not named Penei Sewell or some of the top guys.
Yeah, no, I like him a lot. It's just, whenever there's, especially if there's a heart thing, you see a bunch of these players fall. The one that comes to mind is Maurice Hurst. Maurice Hurst, he was projected to be a 1st-round talent. Then he had that, I can't remember exactly what was wrong with his heart. Might have been the same thing that's wrong with him. But, I'm pretty sure he fell to the 3rd round to the Raiders. And, that I think that's been a good pick for him. And he's been able to play, too. And then, it's just a chance you got to take. But I would definitely take the chance on him.
Yeah, me too. I think he's an unbelievably good talent. And I just think that some team on day 2, somewhere in the late 2nd, I think that right now he's being mocked in like the 3rd round. Man, if you could pick this guy up in the 3rd round, I really feel like you're getting a starting quality guard in the 3rd round. Now, like, we have no idea what these team doctors are saying to the organizations about him, though, so it is tough to mock him somewhere. But let's move on. Let's go into, so as if you listen to the podcast, you know that we are a big Raiders podcast. At least last season, we had that joke bet, the Hooters bet. We got the Giants this year. Yeah, it started off, but we picked the Raiders last year mainly as a joke. But I guess when they started off pretty well, they started off like 6-3 or something. We were kind of about the Raiders.
They just beat the Chiefs, and we were just like, dude, they're gonna do it, man.
Yeah. And they beat the Saints early on. We're like, holy crap, what is going on here?
They beat a lot of good teams.
Yeah, I mean, dude, they're a good team. And they just fell off. That's been the problem with the Raiders, is that they just fall off. So, Derek Carr, is he a franchise quarterback? Steed, I'm going to kick this one off to you. There's kind of been some rumblings about Derek Carr, right? I feel like the whole general consensus is that Derek Carr, he's good, but he's just not good enough. He's closer to Kirk Cousins than he is to an elite NFL quarterback. If you were the Raiders, are you sold on Derek Carr? Derek Carr, it doesn't matter. We're not going to look to upgrade him at all. Derek Carr is our guy, yes or no?
I think Derek Carr is their guy. You say Kirk Cousins and all that. I think I would put him in that class with that Ryan Tannehill because he gives me that feel. And is he going to be like these elite honcho kind of quarterback? No, because that we're talking about Patrick Mahomes, we're talking about Russell Wilson, and you can already say like he's not that. But Derek Carr, he falls into that suit with me. If you can put a good enough team around him, he can win you. He can get you pretty far in the playoffs. If not, he can get you in the Super Bowl. And I'm just looking at his stats last 2 years because I feel like entering in 2019, that was the big discussion. I think that was going in the Hard Knocks. Is Derek Carr their quarterback? I mean, the dude threw for 70% in 2019, threw for 67% last year. He had 4,000 yards in 2 seasons, and he doesn't turn over the ball. I mean, 27 touchdowns this year to 9 picks, 21 touchdowns to 8 picks in 2019, a QBR rating of over 100 in both years. So since then, I think he's definitely taken it another level, and you could see that. He's won them games. And the game they lost to the Chiefs was not his fault. That was the defense's fault. I mean, he's out there battling Patrick Mahomes and he put him in place to win that game. Their defense doesn't give up a late score there to make them lose. And I'm looking at their total offensive stats of last year, where they rank. They're in the top 10. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They were the 8th best offensive team last year.
In points scored? In
total yards. And just total yards per game. And, this is kind of falling on to where, did Josh Jacobs have a great second year? No. Was he terrible? No. But, he wasn't this catalyst.
He wasn't efficient.
Yeah, he wasn't going to be the guy that we thought he was going to be. So that falls more pressure on Derek Carr in a young receiving class where, he made Nelson Aguilar money. I mean, Nelson Aguilar wouldn't and got paid without Derek Carr and John Gruden's system. So I'm going to stick with Derek Carr saying that he is a franchise quarterback. Is he as lead as some of these other guys? No. But if you're top 10 offense, I mean, you're ahead. If they're ahead of the Saints and Sean Payton, I know Drew Brees was banged up this year and all that, but I mean, they're ahead of teams like the Rams with Sean McVay. So, I think if they were able to put a complete just a competent defense, a top 15, top 10 defense that created turnovers and just gave them more chances at the end, this is a team that, fights in that division, but definitely earns a playoff spot.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have to side with you mainly on everything you said. The big point I wanted to bring up with this is that the problem with the Raiders for most games, obviously you can look at the Falcons game, and that offense was terrible.
Oh, that was a bad game.
And I feel like that's just almost what you get with the Raiders. They were a pretty young team. Coming into the season, at least I had said, I think you agreed with me, that this is a team that, even though we took the Super Bowl bet as a joke, we kind of figured, hey, this team is 1 year away. There's too many young players on defense. A lot of their good players on offense are young. Their offensive line was incredibly banged up last season. But the problem with this team is not Derek Carr. The problem with this team is not Josh Jacobs. The problem with this team is that defense.
Oh,
that defense couldn't stop a thing. And especially in the games where the Raiders' offense was playing well. I mean, dude, you don't have to go further than, I'm pretty sure, week 1 against the Panthers, or week 2. That's all you really needed to get the whole synopsis of how that Raiders season was going to go. Because, dude, they took a team, the Panthers, that struggled to put the ball in the end zone against every team. The Panthers lost one-score games consistently, and they sucked in the red zone, but not against the Raiders. It was like the Raiders were that defense that if you were an offensive player, a skill player, you're licking your chops because you're getting that much closer to your bonuses. You're saying, oh, well, it's Raiders week. Here we go. I'm the number 1 receiver. I could probably put up 2 touchdowns.
And that quarterback's like, oh, this is an easy 400 yards in my pocket right here.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the major problem with the Raiders. They're young, especially their defense. And at the end of the day, man, Derek Carr, like you said, he's not insanely elite, but I think it's hard to argue that Tannehill is a lot better than Derek Carr. Derek Carr's a smart quarterback.
I mean,
he's mobile enough.
I mean, out of the three, because I feel like they're all three like in kind of the same category, like on the bridge of being top 10 quarterbacks. Is okay? You got Tannehill, Carr, and Kirk Cousins. I'm rolling with Derek Carr.
Yeah, that's close. I'm gonna have to put some more thought into that one. I'm gonna abstain from that question. That's a good question though. Which one you'd rather have? But yeah, Derek Carr. I still believe in Derek Carr. I think he's one of the smartest quarterbacks. I think the big problem that people have with Derek Carr is that on some of the primetime games the Raiders were on, he missed a couple of wide open guys, so that kind of gave that sour taste in people's mouths about Derek Carr. But if you look at the All-22, even Patrick Mahomes is going to miss wide open guys. I can show you plenty of clips where he does. Derek Carr, to me, is a franchise quarterback.
I mean, take a look at that Sunday Night Football game against the Chiefs. I thought he played tremendous. And also, remember, Derek Carr, he was 2016 before he got hurt. I know I've said this before, but he was an MVP candidate. Could he be that again? I don't know. But, I mean, just seeing that he was there once that means he can get back to that point at some point. But right now, easily top 15 quarterback, and he's definitely not the problem in Oakland or Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah, R.I.P. Oakland.
Got teams just changing names, just teams changing cities. It's hard to keep up. We've got 17 games now.
It's funny because the L.A. Chargers really doesn't... Like, I understand the San Diego Chargers. Like, that one rolled off the tongue better. But to me, like, I felt like I got used to the L.A. Chargers way easier compared to the Raiders. Like, the Las Vegas Raiders still feels weird to this day. It really feels like they still are the Oakland Raiders and not the Las Vegas Raiders. See, I even screwed up it there. It's just it's so weird
just knowing that they play out there in Vegas. I mean, it must be dope, but like the Rams, LA Rams, like that sounds good. I think that sounds better than the St. Louis Rams. I'm glad that they got St. Louis, but
no, I think the L.A. Rams were, like, the winner of all the teams that have moved. They got McVay. They, like, everything about them has just, it seems like it's gotten better. And, dude, like, just think about it in general. Quick side note. We have all these teams moving. We have a 17-game season. What the hell is going on? What is the NFL? This league
is going on, dude.
Let's move on, though. Let's move on. So we got another quarterback kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, not asking if he's a franchise quarterback. We're asking the question, is Teddy Bridgewater even going to be a starting quarterback? So, dude, what is next for Teddy Bridgewater? Kind of to give the backstory, because it's been a wild ride for him. He signs as a backup to the Saints, right? And he comes in for an injured Drew Brees. And Teddy Bridgewater, it's not like he looked like Peyton Manning, right? He wasn't insane. But he was winning football games, and that offense did not miss a beat when he was in there at quarterback. So then the Panthers come out and they say, hey, this guy's a starting quarterback, let's sign him. And then he comes in for the Panthers, and it was a rocky season. It was very up and down. Some games he played well, some games he played bad. I mean, to be honest, if you look at his stats, his season really wasn't all that bad, but when you look at the games for the Panthers, you kind of see, okay, contextually, this is why they don't want him as the starter, right? Their offense, they lost so many one-score games, they couldn't really cap off drives with touchdowns. So I want to ask you, Mr. Steed, as the guy, our resident NFC South expert, what is going on with Teddy Bridgewater? Because you're a Falcons fan. You guys played him twice a year.
We did.
Kind of two-part question. A, can Teddy Bridgewater still start? Is he still a starting quarterback? B, what do you think is going to happen with Teddy Bridgewater moving forward?
I think Teddy Bridgewater can start. It's the same question if you ask me if Ryan Fitzpatrick can start. I think Teddy Bridgewater's kind of like career is going down that line where it could end up being like Fitzpatrick, where he's just a journeyman, because, you look at Bridgewater and you get a starting caliber of play. Are you going to get elite level? Are you going to get anything better than Derek Carr? Probably not, but he's not going to turn over the football. He's going to keep you in games and give you a chance to win. Now, he was dealt a tough job last year playing with a very young team, new coach, new system. He had some good games, had some bad games. But, that whole defense last year was a rookie defense. It didn't really hit its stride to, would have really good games and have really bad games. That's just the way it goes being a rookie. But, I think Teddy Bridgewater has the credibility now of being a starter quarterback. I mean, the first time we played the Falcons, we lost. God, it feels like that was 2 years ago.
Was that the Thursday night game?
No, we beat them. That was our first win of the season.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that was such a weird
But Teddy
game.
Teddy Bridgewater got hurt in that game. He didn't play the second
half.
half.
Yeah, that's right.
That was PJ Walker. So if Bridgewater's playing that game and just know how notorious the Falcons are at blowing second half leads, anything could happen, So, but besides the fact, I think Teddy Bridgewater is still a starter, and now he's in a tough suit because this is a huge quarterback class. It looks like there's some really good guys that have franchise potential, So how many spots are open? When they traded for Sam Darnold, they came out and said we're basically Bridgewater, up to you if you want to be traded or whatever. I think he should be traded. I would go more to a contender, as a backup. Maybe the G-men, the Giants. If Daniel Jones ain't get the job done, if I was the Giants sitting there, you're even questioning about if I'm the Giants and I'm sitting there and it's okay, I think we have a good enough team this year, especially playing this East to win the division, but it's really going to fall on Daniel Jones. Then I would make a trade for Teddy Bridgewater because then Teddy Bridgewater, you're going to get the same amount of play week by week if you decide if Daniel Jones ain't get the job done. I think he would fill in a role like that perfectly.
I mean, I completely agree. That was one of the teams that I think, because there's two scenarios for Teddy Bridgewater, and that's the first one, is that you go to a team that they just need a quarterback. Whether it's the Broncos, if the Broncos get shafted in the draft and don't get their guy, well, maybe you go there. They started off with Drew Lock, but if they're trying to make a playoff run, hey, Drew Lock's not getting the job done, put in Teddy Bridgewater. Same thing with the Giants. I think the Giants is even a better scenario, right? They need a backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. Teddy Bridgewater is a guy that we know with a system around him that's really good, with great coaching, great players around him, he can lead a team to the playoffs. He's proven that. Last year, he's also proven, though, last year that he can't be the guy to lead the team to the playoffs. So, for Teddy Bridgewater, that was the first scenario that I think would be really great for him, is go to one of those teams that their quarterback situation's a little murky. Probably after the draft, if one of these teams is looking for a quarterback and they're not able to land one, well then all of a sudden, hey, okay, we'll give up a random ass draft pick, like a 4 or a 5, and pick up Teddy Bridgewater as our emergency backup, or if things are not going well, we can plug him in and win games. The other thing I think that Teddy Bridgewater should really consider, and this is something that I would be saying if I were his agent, is that this has happened before. Someone's going to get injured at some point, right? And it might even be in OTAs, training camp, whatever. And once that guy gets injured, let's say this Ben Roethlisberger, right? I'm a Steelers fan. He gets injured. Maybe that's not the best example because we don't have a ton of cap space. But regardless, insert starting quarterback with pretty crappy backups gets hurt. And they're looking to make a run. Well, who's the only quarterback on the market? It's Teddy Bridgewater, right? Mm-hmm. He's the only guy on the market. And I think that's almost a win-win for both sides, the Panthers and Teddy Bridgewater, because Teddy Bridgewater gets to go into a role where he can play, which he honestly deserves. You can argue whether you like Teddy Bridgewater or not. You look at his stats, you look at his game tape, it's really not that bad. Like you said, it's a Ryan Fitzpatrick. You're going to get your good games, you're going to get your bad games. So you get to if you're Teddy Bridgewater, you get to go to a place you can play. And second, you're the Panthers, you have more leverage so you can get more from the trade, right?
Yeah.
You know, Sam Bradford way back when this same situation happened and a team traded for him as a starting quarterback, they got a first-round pick. Now, you're not going to get a first-round pick for Teddy Bridgewater, but you might be able to get like a third, like an actual draft pick, you know, possibly a top 100 draft pick. So I think that those, like you said, the Giants, whoever, maybe even like the Jets, because you got a rookie that's going to be playing and you want a bridge quarterback. One of these teams that your quarterback situation is young or really uncertain or uncertain and young, give me Teddy Bridgewater, or we wait for someone to get injured, then bang, Teddy Bridgewater can go in. He's been in multiple systems. He should be able to learn it fast. Bang. Yeah. Teddy Bridgewater goes back to being a starter.
Yeah, I think Bridgewater, you know, is just because we've seen both sides of it now. Him playing on a really good team and not in a pretty bad team that's picking the top 10 this year. He can keep a really good team, a playoff team, but he cannot make a bad team a playoff team. And so, if I'm a market and I think I have a good team, I think I have a playoff caliber team, then I'm calling for Bridgewater.
I completely agree. I'm rooting for Teddy Bridgewater. I like Teddy Bridgewater a lot. I really feel like people forget how much success he had in New Orleans with that coaching staff, and they're judging him too harshly off of being on a team that was super young. It was not easy to win games for that Panthers team. Yeah, they had talent. Yeah, they had a decent offense, but let's not act like the Panthers out here were the biggest powerhouse in the NFC.
Oh, here's a good question. Let's say the Stafford trade never happens. What do you think? Do you think the Rams, is that an upgrade with Bridgewater over Goff?
No.
No?
No,
you don't think they do that? Okay.
No. But let's move on. So Steed did his mock draft last week, and I decided, hey, Steed, you did your mock draft. Well, I'll one-up you with my own. So let's just get into it. I'm not going to have it on the screen. Sorry. But I'm just going to go through it pretty quick. First two picks, T-Law, Zach Wilson. Easy. Everyone has it.
Consensus.
I think it's consensus. Nothing crazy there. Even at pick 3, I've got the 49ers taking Mac Jones. We have a video on that if you're really interested. But I'm not going to spend too much time on it. We both think that Mac Jones is a better prospect than the public gives him credit for. He fits the system well. It really feels like a puzzle piece fit. So the mock really starts at like 4 to the Falcons, and even this isn't off consensus, but I've got Kyle Pitts. I know that a whole lot of people are saying, oh, the Falcons, they should go quarterback and take Justin Fields or Trey Lance. Oh, they should trade down. If I'm the Falcons general manager, if I'm the Falcons head coach, I obviously I'll look to trade down. I'll see what the price is, right? If I can get a ridiculous price like almost what the Dolphins got to go back, I get multiple ones. Yeah. Then you can convince me to trade down. But if I'm not blown away from the offer, and I'm sticking here at pick 4, there's only one player I'm considering, actually 2, and that's Kyle Pitts or Penei Sewell, and I'm pretty quickly picking Kyle Pitts because I understand the argument that the Falcons do not need Kyle Pitts. Yes, I understand that. But if I am the Falcons and I am a completely new regime, what is the one thing I don't want to do? I do not want to fuck this pick up. That is the last thing I want to do by taking someone who isn't going to have the best chance of wearing a gold jacket by the end of his career. The best chance, the player with the best chance of being a Hall of Famer 13 years from now is easily Kyle Pitts. I don't care what the need is. I don't care all of that bullcrap. I am in the business of, if I'm the Falcons GM and head coach, our roster is weaker than the average competing team. The only way I'm going to get my roster up to par is by getting insanely stud players. We're not going to be picking this high up, at least we're hoping, in future seasons. So if I am picking up here, I want someone who is a freak. Like how the Washington football team picked up Chase Young at pick 2, Give me the Chase Young of tight ends. Kyle Pitts. Penei Sewell, I understand he's a great player. Maybe he's more of a need at what the Falcons need. He's just not as good as Kyle Pitts as a prospect. Kyle Pitts day one, I truly believe is a top 5 tight end in the league. There is no other player that can say that in this draft class. Give me Kyle Pitts at 4. We're going best player available. Kyle Pitts is the best player. It's a no-brainer for me. Don't fuck this one up. Take good players. That's how you change a team's culture. You take players that are better than everyone else, right? You just get good players.
And I also do think it helps that, of course they've already talked to him, but Arthur Smith was formerly a tight ends coach before he was an OC for the Titans. So, him knowing the position, maybe he just wants to get his guy. And it's like, no knock on Hayden Hurst, but it wasn't like Hayden Hurst was electric last year. You weren't saying it's much of a need, but tight end kind of a need for us, honestly. Like, tight end play last year was kind of garbage for the Falcons. And I think, if you put Pitts and Hurst on the same field, that's an interesting mix alongside of Julio and Calvin.
Yeah, just at the end of the day, there is not a single team in the NFL that would just say, we don't need a Kyle Pitts.
No, everybody needs a Kyle Pitts.
Every team needs a Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Because there are no other Kyle Pittses roaming around. You can't just be sitting there in the beginning of the second round and saying, there's another Kyle Pitts over here. No, that doesn't exist.
This guy is saying that for multiple drafts.
Yeah, we probably won't be. You're right. We won't be saying that for years and years. There just hasn't been this kind of guy. Penei Sewell's good, but he's no Kyle Pitts. So give me Kyle Pitts at 4. Bengals at 5. So Bengals at 5. I was between 2 guys. They're both offensive line. Actually 3 guys. So I have him taking Penei Sewell. This is a little weird just because the Bengals do have 2 tackles, which I think people kind of forget about, is that they signed a tackle, Riley Reif, in free agency, and then they drafted a tackle, Jonah Williams. That's his name, right? Jonah Williams? I'm not screwing that one up? It's Jonas something.
Yeah, I usually
It's Jonas something or another. He's the left tackle out of Bama a few years ago, and supposedly they still really like him. So they could kick Jonah inside to guard. But yeah, the Bengals, it does not seem like need a tackle. They need a guard. So I was also considering Rashawn Slater. Like we were saying, you get a stud-level guard. Maybe Jamar Chase is in there. The other player I was really considering, though, was J.C. Horn. The corner out of South Carolina.
That'd be interesting.
Just because you got rid of William Jackson. You signed a slot corner in Mike Hilton. They signed Chidobe Awuzie, so that Chidobe Awuzie signing kind of deterred me a little bit because it seemed like they wanted to solve that need in free agency. But the Bengals' defense, to me, is the problem with this football team. If you get the Bengals an elite-level defense, I think that's how you compete in the AFC North. Not just by taking flashy players. I haven't taken Penei Sewell because, like I kind of said before, best player available, that player's Penei Sewell. We'll kick Jonah Williams inside, put Penei Sewell at tackle. We can put Penei Sewell at guard too. Fuck it. Doesn't really matter. Just give me the best player. 6 Dolphins, Jamar Chase. Dolphins need a receiver. They take the best receiver on the board. Okay. Nothing crazy there. Right?
Yeah.
Everyone's mocking him there.
They moved back to 6 for one of the 3, and they're going to get one of those 3. It doesn't matter.
It could be Devontae Smith. I just think
Chase.
that... Yeah, so I think the thing is, it's easier to sell, because if you're a GM, right, at some point, you just have to say, well, I want someone who's less risky. I think everyone kind of agree that Jamar Chase is a little bit less risky than Devontae Smith. There's really not a ton of boxes he doesn't check. Let's move on. So at 7, I have the Lions trading down with the Washington football team. The Washington football team gives up pick 19, their 2022 first, and pick 82, a third-round pick, to the Lions for pick 7, and they take Trey Lance. Washington football team really wants a quarterback. They get their guy, Trey Lance, at pick 7. He falls a little bit outside of these top 6 picks, so they don't have to give up multiple ones. They do still give up a nice package, 2 1s and a 3. 3 top 100 picks to the Lions. The Lions do exactly what I think they should do, And that's just to keep acquiring extra draft capital. Just your team sucks. You need more picks.
If they keep on going, if they keep on going at this rate, they might be the only team drafting in the first round next year.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense for both teams. Maybe the Lions get a better pick, or a better package.
I think the football team's been pretty outspoken about Trey Lance, that they really, really like him and would give up a buttload for him. They'd trade up. And, whether that's 4 to the Falcons or 7 to the Lions, those are the two teams I see who would do it,
Yeah, and I think Trey Lance makes sense for him. He's a guy that should sit a year. You have Ryan Fitzpatrick and even Taylor Heineke, so that you do not have to, if shit hits the fan, force Trey Lance to play before he's ready. This dude has a similar skill set to Cam Newton, who Ron Rivera obviously drafted with Carolina back in the day and had a ton of success with. I mean, they went to a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So I think it makes a ton of sense. If Trey Lance falls to pick 7, like it has in this mock, they give up that package for him. I think it makes sense for both teams. Number 8, the Panthers. This is kind of like the first real surprise pick. I have the Panthers picking up Devontae Smith here at 8. And I know that this is a popular pick to mock someone like Micah Parsons to, maybe like a Rashawn Slater or a quarterback or a corner, right? But if I'm the Panthers, I was thinking about this for a little bit. I mean, we went all defense last year. And that doesn't mean they can't go defense, but we went all defense last year. We lose Curtis Samuel in free agency. We pick up Sam Darnold, and our offensive line was not bad at all last year. They were actually really, really high on the lowest amount of pressures allowed to Teddy Bridgewater. So, going through that, it's like, well, give me the most impactful player. And guess who that is? I think it's Devontae Smith. Because the whole thing is, and I know that there might be people that disagree with this. Maybe they go Jalen Waddle. I don't know. But if I'm who do I take that makes my team the scariest? I think it's Devontae Smith. All of a sudden, you take this offense from, oh yeah, well they're pretty good. You got McCaffrey, you got a decent O-line, you pick up Sam Darnold, you got Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. But when you compare them to the top offenses in the league, they're nowhere near the Chiefs. They're nowhere near the Bills, right? Well, you give them Devontae Smith, you don't need a Patrick Mahomes to be an insanely scary offense, right? Sam Darnold, who has a ton of talent, dude, you put him in this system, Devontae Smith, McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Matt Rule, decent O-line, better defense, like, holy shit. All of a sudden, the Panthers are a team you're saying before the season, well, dude, watch out for these guys.
Yeah, dark horse.
So I really like the more I think about it, the more I really like Devontae Smith here. Pick 9, I have the Broncos taking Justin Fields. For me, the Broncos, they're just going to play the board here at 9. Yeah, maybe they might move up or move down. If I'm the Broncos, I think the price to move up is going to be a little bit too hefty, realistically, because there's going to be other teams in the market. So screw it. I'm just going to play the board at pick 9. If a quarterback like Justin Fields falls to me at pick 9, or Trey Lance, yeah, I'll take him. I'll take him easily. If not, well then there's going to be a stud. There's going to be an absolute stud of a player here, no matter if it's a quarterback, a linebacker, a corner, regardless.
Yeah,
so
true.
if I'm the Broncos, I think I'm just going to wait this one out. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to play the board and take what makes my team better. Maybe it's a tackle. Maybe it's a cornerback. Maybe it's a quarterback. Who knows? In this draft, it's a quarterback, and it's Justin Fields. Number 10, Cowboys. J.C. Horn.
Yeah.
The more you watch J.C. Horn, the more you fall in love with him. This guy's a shutdown corner. This guy's unbelievably good. So for me, he's my number 1 corner. Cowboys need corners. Easy money. Now, all of a sudden, you take a secondary that was terrible last year, and now you start looking a little scary. You got Trayvon Diggs and J.C. Horn.
Dude,
okay, easy money.
J.C. would look so cool in that Dallas Cowboys uniform and helmet. I won't even lie or cap about it, dude. Their uniforms and helmets are just so cool to me. And he would I could just see him right now with the blacked out visor, just kind of yeah, dude. I love that pick for the Cowboys. Might hop back on the Cowboys train for a little bit.
Dude, to be honest, I think J.C. Horn, like, the more I look at these mocks, and it's like, you got all these offensive players.
Dude, I think
early,
he separated himself more as the number one. I him from starting like 3 in the beginning of all this. I'd say I like J.C. Horn way more than Surtain, like Farley and all them.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's kind of crazy how much of a gap he's bridged, in the last couple months.
To be completely honest, I think J.C. Horn is my favorite cornerback prospect in the past 2 years, and I liked C.J. Henderson a lot last year.
What about A.J. Terrell?
I don't know. Everyone's gonna say, "Oh, what about Okuda?" I was not a huge Okuda guy, just for the record.
I don't think Okuda played that well last year anyway. So,
okay, let's move on. I'm gonna go a little bit speed running here through these picks. Giants at 11, taking Jalen Phillips. Steed had the same pick. We both think Jalen Phillips is edge 1. Giants, real last position of need is edge. It kind of falls into their lap here at 11. Bang time. Other picks, Jalen Waddle could have been there. Yeah. Whatever. It's weird to mock to the Giants. Eagles at 12. I have them picking Rashawn Slater. I know Eagles fans might not love this a ton, and they may go. I mean, Eagles, you're basically taking anything that has a pulse here. Yeah. But for me, Rashawn Slater is exactly what the Eagles need. They need a versatile young O-lineman. This is a group. It feels like the same story every year, and it's just been getting worse and worse and worse since the Super Bowl. We have good O-linemen, they just are never playing. Well, then you don't have good O-linemen since they're not playing. Rashawn Slater can play basically every single position up front. It's exactly what they need. He's super talented. He's young. He's on that rookie deal. Pick him up. Protect your quarterback. There we go. Chargers at 13. I haven't picked up Patrick Surtain. I know that's going to come out as a little bit of surprise. A lot of people have them just Darrisaw falling into their lap in every single freaking mock. But to me, you hired a defensive coach. That defensive coach had a stud secondary for Los Angeles, the Rams. That secondary and that defense got them very far. And if their offense was better, maybe they beat the Packers and have a chance at the Super Bowl. Well, let's do that for the Chargers, the other LA team. This is a team whose defense has let them down repeatedly at the end of games. There are so many tackles. We can find a tackle in round 2. I'm not sure we can find a corner with the athletic and the overall profile of Patrick Surtain in any other draft here. We get him at 13. This is a guy that in plenty of drafts might go higher than this, but because there's so much good offensive talent, he falls a little bit. Give me a potential number 1 corner on a lot of people's boards here in Patrick Surtain. Let's get this Chargers defense to a legit level, a level that, you need to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs, with the Raiders, with the Broncos, all these teams investing in offense. Let's zig when others are zagging, right? Let's take the corner.
Yeah.
Minnesota picks up Darrisaw. They're a team that everyone's mocking defense. Hey, we just lost our tackle. Let's get younger here. Let's pick up a tackle in Christian Darrisaw. This is a guy that I think is top 10 talent. He falls to 14. Easy money. Pick 15, New England. No quarterbacks are available. You couldn't make the move to move up. We pick up Jalen Waddle. Deep threat receiver. Dynamic receiver. I think that the Patriots could trade down from here. But in this scenario, I just have him staying put, taking Jalen Waddle. Arizona at 16, easy, Caleb Farley. I think this is kind of a no-brainer. They're going to go corner. That was the strength of their team last year. They lose their 2 starting corners. We need a corner. We go Caleb Farley, a guy that it fell a little bit because of the back surgery, but he's still insanely talented. Arguably CB1. Vegas takes Kwity Paye. Big school guy. Seems like a pretty good character guy. Physically talented. Defense. I think it kind of checks all the Raiders' boxes. Miami, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I think that Miami here with their second pick after taking a receiver is going to be looking for defense, more specifically a linebacker. Their secondary is really good, but I think that the last thing they need is kind of that all-around speedster linebacker, a guy that can rush the passer and cover really well with that system that Brian Flores likes to run, that cover zero look, where you're taking a smart player. You're taking a guy that's kind of all around very good. I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah fits Miami perfectly.
Imagine if
Detroit
they got Chase and Owusu-Koramoah. Like, they won the first round. They won it.
That's a great draft. And picked up draft capital at the same time.
Golly, man. They're playing chess.
Yeah. Detroit, Elijah Vera Tucker. They traded down. They're just going to take the best player available, and that is very well could be Elijah Vera Tucker. He's a guy that a lot of people think has top 10 talent. He can play tackle. He can play guard. Like I said, if I'm a rebuilding team, I want extra picks, and I want good offensive linemen, and that's exactly what Detroit did in this draft. Chicago stole this one for you. Greg Newsome. They need a corner. And Greg Newsome, I think, is a guy that could really replace Kyle Fuller very well. Mm-hmm. They're both hard-nosed corners, good in coverage. I think Greg Newsome really fits the Chicago Bears identity, to be honest.
Yeah.
Indy, I stole this one from you too. Samuel Cosme. This is a guy I just feel like, once again, all-around tackle. It's exactly what Indy needs. He can play that left tackle spot. Of all the guys on the board left, I think he is the favorite for me at tackle for the Colts to get. I think just everything considered, he's the safest, best pick at tackle. Tennessee at 22. This is going to come as a little bit of a surprise. I haven't taken Elijah Molden out of Washington. The reason being, there might be better corners on the board, right? You might be able to argue, oh, well, Asante Samuel Jr., oh, well, this guy from Georgia, this guy. No. I want Elijah Molden because this is a guy who's a football player. And Tennessee, I think, needs football players. They have him on offense. But every single game I watched of the Titans last year, I have never seen a team miss so many freaking tackles. Yeah. Elijah Molden is a hard-nosed kid. He's talented enough to play in the cover guys in the slot, cover guys outside. But most importantly, this dude plays hard and he tackles hard. And that's what I want for the Tennessee Titans. I want a guy who's good in coverage, who's hard-nosed and is going to tackle well. Receiver screens. He's going to fight through a block and lay a hit. A trap coverage, a cover two. If there's someone running into his zone, catching the football, he's going to freaking nail him. That's what Tennessee needs. And I think Elijah Molden fits it perfectly. New York Jets, this pick hurt me to root because this is the guy I wanted to go to the Steelers, Landon Dickerson. I think this is a perfect pick for the Jets here at 23. You get a locker room guy, a consistent guy. You get that center that you absolutely need because this is what separated your team back in I forget what year it was exactly, maybe like 2014 with Rex Ryan, when you were making AFC championships. You had guys like Nick Mangold and DeBrickashaw Ferguson. Well, you kind of picked up your DeBrickashaw Ferguson. Let's get your Nick Mangold here and Landon Dickerson. An absolutely consistent player. Very good run and pass blocking. You get him at 23. I think this is a perfect pick for the Jets to protect your new young quarterback. Pittsburgh, it sucks we lose out on Landon Dickerson, but I have us taking Tevin Jenkins. Okay. Pittsburgh couldn't run the ball last year. You could not run the freaking football. Let's get a professional people mover, right? Let's get a guy that will bring that. Let's just get a guy that's going to bring that intensity. A guy that is going to get in your face and shove you into the sidelines. That's what I think Pittsburgh needs up front. They need a big ass dude who's going to run block really well. I think it's exactly what they need. Jacksonville, kind of just going best player available here at 25 with Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher. I think the value kind of matches the talent, matches the need, right? I just think it makes sense. Cleveland, this is an interesting pick. I was fighting between Zaven Collins and Jamin Davis, both linebackers. Jamin Davis out of Kentucky, Zaven Collins out of Tulsa. I went with Zaven Collins because I just personally like Zaven Collins more. Zaven Collins is just a freak, to be completely honest. He's a big-ass dude. He's fast. He's good in coverage. Like, this dude kind of has superstar written all over him that you might be able to get at the end of the first round.
And plus, since they just got Clowney, too, they were able to add Zaven Collins. Plus, all their secondary they signed this offseason.
Yeah,
golly.
John Johnson.
Yeah,
You're going to get Del Pitt. Like, all of a sudden, the Browns are looking nice,
that
dude. They're
Browns
looking
team
nice.
is scary, dude. Ooh.
So, Baltimore, this is a weird pick for Baltimore here. I have them taking Diami Brown, the receiver out of North Carolina, which I know is going to shock some people. To me, I didn't really love the edge rushers on the board here. I know that there are people that are going to like guys like Jason Owe and all them. Baltimore also desperately needs a receiver. They were trying all offseason to sign some of these top receivers, but every single one did not want to go to Baltimore. So I take the best X receiver on my board, and that's Diami Brown. This is a guy that kind of checks all the boxes for me. I talked about it in the receiver rankings that we did a week or two ago. But just quick synopsis, he's a guy plays really hard. He blocks insanely well for a run-first football team. And he's a great vertical threat. I think he really checks the boxes of everything the Ravens need. New Orleans, I haven't taken Jason Owe. You need to replace Trey Hendrickson, who just left for Cincinnati. Jason Owe, while he doesn't have a ton of great production, this is a team that can develop players.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's not forget that. And this is a guy that you just look at physically is probably one of the best players in the class. Just physically speaking.
And you put him
he absolutely killed the pro day.
Yeah, him, Davenport, and Cam Jordan. That looks pretty scary. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, this is a weird pick for New Orleans. I feel like you're almost just going best defensive player available here.
Yeah.
So for me, with all things considered, it was Jason Owe. Green Bay, I've got him taking Rondale Moore. Give me a playmaker. Aaron Rodgers is apparently, I keep hearing in the media, he's unhappy. I understand that you could take a center here to replace who freaking left for the Chargers? What was his name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But let's just appease Aaron Rodgers a little bit, and the value makes sense. The need makes sense. You get a guy that is just a playmaker. You get a guy that a defense is going to have to worry about, and you already have a bunch of guys you need to worry about. Rondale Moore to Green Bay would be absolutely electric, and I'd really like it. I understand that you might want to go offensive line or defense or whatever, but hey, let's have some fun here in Green Bay. Let's get this offense above and beyond all the other offenses in the league.
Last year it was basically just automatic at some points. Maybe not the Tampa Bay game, but I mean, if they were able to get someone with a skill set like Rondale Moore, that'd be crazy. It's just, does LaFleur want to take a receiver in the first round, or is he gonna take Kellen Mond or something? You know?
Is he just gonna take another quarterback? Okay, Buffalo here at 30. Same thing with you. I had Christian Barmore falling this far. To be completely honest, I don't think that pick 30 is going to be the first interior D lineman off the board.
Yeah.
I just think this is kind of a weak interior D line class, and compared to all the other positions and prospects available, like, I don't really want to take these guys until towards the end of the first round, to be completely honest. So Buffalo, he falls into their lap. I mean, I could see Barmore going as early as like the late teens, but I don't know. I think I just like a lot of these other prospects more. Kansas City, another surprise pick here. Ronnie Perkins out of Oklahoma. This is a guy that I have not seen a ton of talk about. Apparently you had, because we were talking before the episode, because I was mentioning to you, hey, this Ronnie Perkins kid, I don't know where he came from. I hadn't heard about him, but holy crap, this guy is good.
Yeah, he's like... So I've read a couple articles on him where like people are like, dude, he's like so underrated. He's a first round talent, and just he's not getting talked about because people like Osai and Away are just jumping above of him just because of their like freak of bodies. They're so big.
Yeah, so Ronnie Perkins is a little undersized. He's 6'3", 250. But holy crap, you watch this guy on tape. I'm gonna post a clip on Twitter, Instagram, of Ronnie Perkins long-arming Tevin Jenkins into the ground. Like, literally, one arm, right in the armpit, just bull rushes him into the ground. Like, dude, this guy, I don't think he'll go in the first. He got suspended on a drug charge, or suspended for weed. at the end of last year, so he missed the bowl game, and I think the first 4 or 5 games of this season. But, dude, this guy is a freaking beast. I don't know why people aren't talking. I think it's just because of the overall, like, his size. You have the character concerns, apparently. I don't know. To me, I really like Ronnie Perkins. I think if I were a team like Kansas City, I need an edge rusher at the end of the first. Give me a guy who can play this year. I think Ronnie Perkins legitimately can day one be a good edge rusher, and that's exactly what the Chiefs need. This is a team we're looking to win Super Bowls next year, right? I don't want to take a guy that I need 2 or 3 years to develop. I want a guy who can play now, who can be a good-ass edge rusher now, and I think that's Ronnie Perkins.
I think the Chiefs did make that commitment for the 10-year, $500 million, and I think that's pretty safe and stone. They're looking to win some Super Bowls. But, I mean, like, the team that gets after the quarterback, Ronnie Perkins would fit right into that defense.
All right, and with my last pick, I have my second trade of the draft. Steed, you know who's getting picked here.
Oh, yeah.
So Chicago, they trade up. They trade pick 52, a second next year, and a 5th next year to Tampa Bay, and they pick up one of my favorite quarterbacks in the draft, Kellen Mond, here at pick 32. I think that, dude, this is going to be my bold prediction for the draft day stream. It's going to be my bold prediction general. Kellen Mond gets picked at pick 32. I know that the Steelers are seemingly pretty interested, but I don't think they're going to have the balls to trade up. I think it's Chicago, though, that is going to look, because they're the other team supposedly really interested in Mond. They're going to trade up with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay doesn't really have a glaring need. I think that Tampa Bay, you get a great price to trade down. You get some assets for next year for when seemingly all these good players, the Bradys and all them, are going to leave. So you get some ammo to reload. You still get 2 top 64 picks. And Chicago, you get your quarterback. You're going to be able to play Andy Dalton this year. But if there's any sort of, last goodbye, last farewell from the Ryan Pace, Matt Nagy crew, it's picking up the quarterback of the future on a 5th-year deal and picking up Kellen Mond.
I mean, I like Kellen Mond going the first there. Where did you have Micah Parsons going, or did I just miss that, or did you just have him falling?
I think I did. I thought I did. Did I forget him?
I might have
forgot Micah Parsons. Well, rip. Micah Parsons not getting picked in the first, apparently.
I mean, technically it could happen.
No, I thought I had him going earlier in the draft. Damn, I completely forgot about Micah Parsons. That's a rip. Well, I'll redo it again for next week. See, I had him initially going to the Chargers, but then I switched it to Surtain, and I never put him back. But I guess Micah Parsons, his character concerns are too great. Yeah, he falls outside of the first round.
I mean, that
mock is not going to happen.
Yeah, it probably won't happen, but it could.
Yeah, that is my bet on that. Oh, well. All right, let's move on, though. Last segment of the day. We got, 12 minutes left. Late round targets. So I guess I'll start off with this one. Just guys, not necessarily late round, but any guys that we're thinking are underrated. Sleeper prospects. First one is Ronnie Perkins, the guy that I just talked about in the mock draft. I'll keep it short, but this is a guy. You look at the tape, he pops off the tape. He had a pretty good pro day. Yeah, he's undersized, but this is a dude who can play.
Yeah, I mean, I love Ronnie Perkins. I got a guy, receiver actually, that I think will go day 3. I like Josh Palmer out of Tennessee. He could be kind of a sneaky guy. He was always expected to be the guy at Tennessee. He played, I thought he always played good, but, never, rose to be the guy. But, if you start just shooting darts you're just shooting darts at the board, I feel like, why not take a crack at Jesse Palmer? Just here you go.
No, yeah, I watched him at the Senior Bowl. I actually did like what I saw out of him. I think he could be almost like a Zach Pascal kind of a guy, right? Like that underrated third, second type of receiver for your football team, and you could pick him up pretty late in the draft.
Yeah.
I'll match you with another receiver. This is a guy I've started to really fall in love with, and that's Austin Watkins. He's actually Sammy Watkins' cousin,
Oh, really?
who plays for UAB. So Austin Watkins, I think he's got the best hands in the draft, and I don't even think it's close. You talk about strong hands. I have never seen this guy drop a football at the Senior Bowl, on tape. I have not. He's an octopus. You put the ball anywhere around him, and he's coming down with it. I think. Well, the other positive about Watkins, he's big. He's like 6'1", 210. So, like, he can play physical. I think the big problem with Watkins is he can't separate very well. Even at the Senior Bowl, he was struggling to separate. On tape, he struggles to separate against lesser competition. So I think that's his big knock. But at the same time, he has such strong hands, and he is a kind of a big dude that he's able to just bring balls in with guys kind of draped over him. So Austin Watkins is a guy, for my dynasty leagues, I think he's going to go undrafted in most drafts, but he's a guy that I'm going to be looking to pick up. I'm really curious to see where he does go in the NFL draft, if he gets drafted, if he gets undrafted, where he goes if he does get drafted. Austin Watkins is a guy I am really starting to like at the receiver position.
I like that. And whenever I look into, like, sleeper picks, I like looking into conferences like the American Conference. And I was looking into it, and this is a guy that I want the Falcons to really target, is a D lineman out of Houston called Peyton Turner. This guy was an absolute monster. I mean, it did help that he was playing alongside Ed Oliver, but, besides the point, I thought, he just looked like he had a good point of attack. I think the only problem with him is that he's, more of a tweener. He doesn't really fit on the edge, but he doesn't fit outside. So maybe he's going to have to, figure out his role. But, I think he, when he was on the field, he was able to get to the quarterback no problem, showed great athleticism. And I truly think he could probably play in, any kind of defense, base 4-3, 3-4, it doesn't really matter. And just, for a day 3 guy or, a third-round kind of guy, to get him as, a rotational piece on your defensive line, I think he could help tremendously.
All right, my next one, I'm going to go with another receiver, and this guy isn't necessarily a super sleeper, but I don't think he's going to go very early in drafts, and that's Tamorrion Terry at FSU. I just love this guy's tape. I liked it last year when I was watching Cam Akers, and I liked it again. Apparently, he got into a feud with the FSU coaching staff or something, and his season was cut short. Some sort of character concerns based around that. But man, he's inconsistent, first off, and his technique is not good. So he needs a ton of development. But as a day 3 guy, you talk about a guy that's got the tools. Tamorrion Terry is definitely a guy I'm going to be keeping an eye on, because his raw talent you just can't teach. Mm-hmm. He's good in all phases of the field. He's a good deep threat. He's fast. He's decent with the ball in his hands. He needs to tuck it more. He fumbles way too much. He carries it just with his forearm. But this is a guy I think is pretty good, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
All right, so a guy, I'm going defense again here. I guess I just had that Falcons mindset, but I like the safety at Cincinnati, because I remember watching him when they were playing Georgia in their bowl game, and I thought he really impressed me, just his awareness and just knowing where to be on the field. But James Wiggins out of Cincinnati, he started, and I did some research on him. He started his whole 2018 as a freshman, or a redshirt freshman here, and then he tore his ACL and missed the whole next 2019. But he came back this year in the COVID year, and we know Cincinnati had a great team. I mean, there were 2 teams last year that had, top 20 offense and top 20 defense, and that was Clemson and Cincinnati. And James Wiggins was on that team. He's a day 3 guy, and I think more of the question is if he could stay healthy. But I think he could be kind of a little bit of a playmaker at the next level.
All right, so I'm also gonna go with the safety, and that's Jamar Johnson out of Indiana. This is a guy he's been gaining a little bit of buzz recently, and I wanted to see what was on about. Apparently, he had a really great game against Ohio State for Indiana, and I watched his tape, and it's holy crap, this guy's a freaking beast, dude. So I know he's been getting a lot of buzz. Maybe he goes day 2. I think he'll go somewhere in the 3rd round. But this is a guy, you talk about a safety that can hit people and play hard. Dude, he can hit people and play hard. I'll tell you that much. He was knocking tight ends and tackles on their ass. He was rushing the passer. He was playing coverage. Jamar Johnson does kind of seem like the total package at safety as an athletic playmaker. So he's a guy that I'm going to be interested to see where he goes.
Yeah, so my next guy, since we were talking about a lot of tackles today, I'm talking about a tackle that, it's such a deep tackle class. He's been kind of pushed back, and I get why. But Brady Christensen, left tackle out of BYU. I mean, first of all, BYU's O-line last year was crazy. It's
insane, dude.
Really
they were so good.
What really helped Zach Wilson, get into this top status right here was behind this offensive line. I don't think he can play left tackle the next level. He's just not. He doesn't have like the athletic ability as some of these like bigger prospect guys. And so I think he projects more towards like on the right side. But what I will say, even though he doesn't like pop out like as one of these athletic specimens, I think he's really sound like fundamentally, has the techniques down where you're just going to get like a solid player. Nothing crazy, but you're just going to get a solid player. You look at his tape, look at BYU and look what he was doing. I mean, he's playing left tackle and helping Zach Wilson have the best year of his career. So like, I'm not going to nod at the fact. I kind of like his game. I mean, this guy could. I think he's maybe even could go round 3, honestly.
No, yeah, I really like that pick. He was actually a guy that I had on my list. No, I completely agree. That BYU offensive line is, I don't want to say it's the most underrated group because I think everyone kind of agrees that their offensive line was sick. But then when it comes to the prospects in the draft, well, it's like, oh, well, he's not getting hyped. Like,
yeah, it's just,
well, there's kind of a disconnect there,
Yeah, but like you think the thing is, you look at like, even though he played great in college, you look at people like Sewell, Slater, Darrisaw.
Yeah, he's just not that
just
much of an athlete.
Yeah, it's just like you look at these and you're like, God, these guys are beast. But this guy is good. He's capable of playing the next level. I don't think he can play on the left side, but I mean, move him over. He's probably better than Caleb McGravy.
I'm gonna go for a quick 2-for-1 here. I think we'll end it after this, and that's 2 guys that I like for dynasty leagues, and that's Khalil Herbert, who's once again not really an unnamed prospect, but this is a guy that my number 1 concern with him was athleticism. And you look at his pro day, he ran like a 4.45 40, 25 reps on the bench, above average 3-cone and short shuttle. Like, he absolutely killed the pro day. So this is a guy that, for me, was around my 9th or 10th rated running back, has instantly jumped up into my top 7. And he's a guy that I think could go a little bit earlier than people are expecting. And the next one, my last one, is a wide receiver out of Houston, Marquez Stevenson. I know some of you may have heard of him. Mm-hmm. The thing is that this dude is a freaking burner. He is a burner and a half. At the Senior Bowl, he was smoking everyone. And it's just a trait coveted in the NFL. You got these guys, they got huge arms. You want someone who can take the top off of defense. Well, Marquez Stevenson is that guy, right? And compared to some of the other players, right, like the Henry Ruggses and the Jalen Waddles, and even, as you say, good old Tutu Atwell.
Tutu. Like
you don't have to pay that kind of price, at least projected and being mocked, for a guy like Marquez Stevenson. And compared to some of the other just true burners, like last year there was some of those guys the Eagles took, like Quez Watkins and Hightower, John Hightower. I think that Marquez Stevenson is a better receiver than those guys. So he's a guy I'm interested in go on. But with that being said, we're going to end it here. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. On draft day, we're doing a draft stream. So tune in. It'll probably be on the tube. So tune in on YouTube to the draft stream. If you're interested in some dynasty takes during the draft, we're going to be doing some fun stuff. But thank you so much for listening, and